The following is a production of Stevenson Media.
Houston, Texas, the Bayou City, Space City, Clutch City, the H. No matter what you call Houston, as long as you call it home, then you know that down here, we're all about culture. From legendary barbecue, historic rodeos, and a unique slab culture that has completely changed the game. Never underestimate the heart of a Houstonian, because when our backs are against the wall, you better believe that we're going to come through in the clutch. Speaking of clutch, our sports teams know a little something about that too. It's a great time to be a sports fan in the city of Houston. The Astros have been the most dominant team in baseball going on a decade, and the Houston Texans have found their quarterback of the future. Hell, even the Dynamo are trying to add a few more trophies to the case. And the new-look Rockets finally have the leadership they've been desperately seeking. With a combination of rising young stars and seasoned vets, they are looking to establish themselves as a force to be reckoned with. What more could the city ask for? How about a podcast from someone who lives and breathes with every snap, every pitch, and every tip-off at center court, just like you do. Someone who's been repping Htown 10 toes down since he was crawling on the floor and will be until they put him in the dirt. Someone who's watched the Houston Legends put our city on the map and is ready to witness a new era of greatness. The national media ain't putting in work to cover our teams the way that you deserve. Nick Stevenson may not be the voice that Houston asked for, but he's definitely the voice that we need. So what it do, H-Town? Are you ready to hold it down for the greatest city in the world? Houston Sports State of the Union podcast.
Want to tip the host? Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Get a free Houston Sports State of the Union podcast t-shirt with a donation of $50 or more.
Following program is brought to you by Broke Ass Furniture, where it don't matter if you're broke, you're so is the furniture. So get your broke ass down here and buy some furniture. If the Texans win the Super Bowl, you get your money back, but I'm taking the furniture back too. Dial 1-800-BROKE-AF and ask for Futon Frank. Broke Ass Furniture saves you money!
This is the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of Houston Sports Nation, Nick Stevenson.
My goodness, please be seated. My fellow Houstonians, happy 3 de Mayo. This is the Houston Sports State of the Union address for the week of April 28th. I am the self-appointed president of Houston Sports Nation, Nick Stevenson. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Look, if you knew what I had to go through to get here today, you'd be giving me another round of applause. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have the studio audience do it for me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Look, it is my distinct pleasure to be here before you. Once again, you guys could be doing anything in the world right now. You're choosing to spend a little bit of time with me, and I thank you. We got a lot to talk about. On tonight's show, the 2024 NFL Draft has concluded, and now it's time to overact and speculate. How do you think the Texans did? Did they do what you wanted them to do? Are you happy? We'll talk about it. And although they didn't have a first-round pick, the Texans did affect the first round. How so? We'll talk about that as well. The Houston Astros swept the World Series of Suck in Mexico City and made some bold moves to try to turn this thing around, but is it going to be enough? We will talk about that. And is it okay to criticize your team? If you do, does that mean you're not a real fan? We'll talk about that as well. And lastly, we'll talk about the shooting incident that wounded 10 individuals, including Texans wide receiver Tank Dell. What responsibility, if any, does Tank have to not be in that situation? Before we get started, though, I want to let you guys know how you can support the show. You're doing one of them right now. You're listening, you're watching, hopefully you're sharing with your friends right now. Clicking the share button, letting everybody know, hey, the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast is on. And if you do that, I appreciate it. If you guys are watching and you have yet to do so, please follow, like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast fix. You can watch the podcast on Facebook. You can watch on YouTube. You can watch on Twitch. You can watch on X, which is the app formerly known as Twitter. If you prefer to listen to your podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you choose to listen to podcasts, you can find me. You can either search Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, or right now, if you're watching this video or listening, you will find a link tree that has the links to anywhere you can listen to the podcast and any of the social media where you can follow and get more content. Also, in that description, you'll see a link to my tip jar. There is also a QR code right here if you're watching the video. Anything you guys leave for the show is going to go directly back to the show to help me bring you guys more content. A donation of $50 or more is going to get you one of these sweet Houston Sports State of the Union podcast t-shirts. And I appreciate anything that you guys can donate, though. I think you can donate as little as $1. I think as much as $2.50. Nobody's done that one yet, but if you do, let me know. Make sure you guys send a screenshot of that donation of $50 or more, because it is anonymous. So if you want to get your t-shirt, you're going to have to screenshot it and send it to me. There's also affiliate links in the description, not only to the Houston fan gear of the week, but there's also links to all of the podcast equipment that I'm using. If you're interested in podcasting and you want to know how I do it, all of the equipment that I use there's links to it in the description. And if you purchase those, I will get a little bit of change from it. There's my register. Okay. Sorry about that. So lastly, if you're interested in sponsoring the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, you will have an opportunity to do so if you choose. Just email me at HS State of the Union podcast at gmail.com, or you can DM me on either Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, however you choose to do so. So if you're interested in doing that, I would love to represent your business as well, and we can help grow our businesses together. Okay, those are the ways to support the show. You're here, you're watching, you're ready. Let's do the state of the Houston Texans. All right, the draft is complete. Now, I'm not a draft expert by any means, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am. My assessment of the draft is that the Texans felt they had the luxury to draft for depth. And if you're happy with everything that you did in the offseason, or that the Texans did in the offseason, then you might agree with me. But just based on the way they went about things, it seemed like they were trying to breed competition and add some depth. And there's some positions that, although on paper we might think that they're solidified, if we take a little bit of a deeper look, it might be good to breed some competition there. I want to start with their second round pick and Kamari Lassiter. He was picked at 42, I believe. Yeah, the Texans had the number 42 pick. The number 39 pick was Cooper DeJean, which a lot of so-called experts had him as the best corner in the draft, although that is debatable. I had a feeling he probably wasn't the best corner in the draft. And listen, like I said, I'm not a draft expert, but basically when I saw that all of the experts who are usually wrong about drafts had him as the best corner in the draft, I thought to myself, okay, maybe I should slow down on that, and not, because essentially two corners were taken in the first round, neither of them being Cooper DeJean. And I thought to myself, well, I thought Cooper DeJean was the best in the draft. But apparently some NFL teams thought otherwise. Why that is, like, we all know Cooper DeJean is like the first white cornerback since who? Jason Sehorn. And he's gotten a lot of flack. I don't know. I saw some people insinuate that he's more of a safety, use that sneaky athleticism moniker that often goes to white guys who play skill positions. Like I said, I'm not a draft expert. I thought he was going to go in the first round. I was surprised that he didn't. So when he fell, you guys know I've talked about it. I wanted the Texans to draft a corner. So when he fell into the second round, I was like, maybe the Texans can get Cooper DeJean. Well, there was a run on two of the cornerbacks that I was hoping the Texans would get right before they took Kamari Lassiter. The Eagles took Cooper DeJean, which, when's the last time the Eagles had a bad draft? When they take him, it makes you kind of feel like, okay, something's going on. And I believe they moved up to get him. And then the Saints moved up right before the Texans to get Kool-Aid McKinstry. That's the guy that I wanted. I had seen him mocked to the Texans a few times. So I started watching some of his videos, some of his highlights. I'm honest with you guys, I did not watch a lot of Alabama football, but I went and I started watching his film and I was like, okay, this dude's legit. He didn't give up a single touchdown an 80-point last season or the season before, if I'm not mistaken. But the Saints traded up to take him, which makes me think maybe they had a feeling that the Texans were going to pick Kool-Aid McKinstry. But sure maybe Lassiter is the pick out of Georgia. And I don't know about you guys, but it kind of felt like maybe they got the leftovers, because after they picked Lassiter, there wasn't any more corners picked for quite some time. So there's a lot of Texans fans, a lot of experts. I think some of the so-called draft gurus gave them a B grade on that pick. Here's what I know. The big knock on Lassiter was his 40 time. I've seen some places that he ran a 4.5, some places that he ran a 4.6. He didn't run at the combine. That was his pro day. So a lot of people say, hey, on your pro day, like that's when you're supposed to get a little bit of a favorable time on your 40, and you still ran 4.5, 4.6. When a lot of guys are running 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4. I think what's crazy is like 4.4 is considered slow now, which makes no sense. I would love to see all of the people saying that Kamari Lassiter is slow. I would love to see them run the 40 just one time. Like we got to get, who do we got? We got to get Peter King. We got to get, I'm blanking on the one dude's name, the ESPN guy with the hair, Mel Kiper. We got to get that guy. You go run the 40, bro. Let me see what you got. Mel Kiper is one of the people who had Cooper DeJean as his best corner in the draft. But we all know the story about Mel Kiper. If I'm not mistaken, he had Johnny Manziel like as a perennial Pro Bowler. So take that with a grain of salt, if you will. But here's what I know. Like I said, Lassiter, okay, so he's not lightning fast. I mean, 4.6, 4.5, 4.6, whatever you want to call it. That's still pretty damn fast. He was a member of an elite college defense with the Georgia Bulldogs. And he didn't give up a single touchdown last season either. I believe he had like 80-something pass breakups in his career. What I think makes him a D'Amico guy is he had a chance to sit out his bowl game this year because it was widely considered that he might be a first-round pick in this draft. And so he had a chance to sit out his bowl game, and he just didn't want to do it. He refused to do it. His coach, Kirby Smart, actually told him to sit out. And he said he couldn't do it. So I believe he played the first half. I can't remember who they played in their bowl game, but I know they blew him out. So he played the first half of that game, and then it was a blowout. So, you know, he made the smart decision not to get himself hurt so he could get drafted by the Houston Texans. And I think D'Amico Ryans, listen, maybe this guy Lassiter does have some deficiencies when it comes to speed. But here's what I know about D'Amico Ryans and what I believe in him as a coach. I believe D'Amico is going to put him in position to succeed. He's done that for everyone else, everywhere that he's been. San Francisco and now here. I mean, nobody had heard of Fred Warner until D'Amico Ryans was his defensive coordinator. And look what he did with the defense of really makeshift, no-name guys last season. So I believe if there's anybody who can coach this guy up, D'Amico Ryans is that guy. And look, he's going to have an opportunity to compete with Jeff Okudah to be starting opposite of Stingley. And I think that D'Amico Ryans and even Nick Caserio have earned enough credibility that we should at least wait and see with these picks. We shouldn't say that it's not a good pick. We shouldn't say that the Texans made a mistake or they should have gone elsewhere, because I believe in D'Amico Ryans, and I believe regardless of what this young man's deficiencies may be, he's a good football player and he loves football. Clearly, that's why he, once again, he could have sat out of his bowl game and he chose not to. And that's the type of guys that D'Amico wants. He wants guys who love football, who want to play. So I think we should wait and see. If he is a good nickel corner, I think it's a good pick. I mean, with the way that the NFL teams play now, defenses are in nickel a lot. There's a lot of 3-4 wide receiver sets. So if he ends up being just a good nickel guy, he can't really play on the outside with some of the faster receivers. I think that's still a good pick. You can definitely use that. So I think, once again, there's some cornerbacks on this team already that played decent last season. I think D'Amico's going to coach him up and give him a chance for some competition. The second round pick definitely came under scrutiny because they drafted a tackle out of Notre Dame, Blake Fisher. Why the hell would you draft a tackle in the second round? We've talked about it on this show even. The Texans have already put a lot of capital into the offensive line. Laramie Tunsil, until just recently, was the most highest paid left tackle in the game. You've put a lot of draft capital into it. You've put a lot of free agency capital into it. So a lot of people were kind of surprised that they picked a tackle with the second round, of their first pick in the second round. Me, I'm not surprised because, like I said, it looks like the Texans are trying to breed competition in every single position that they possibly can. And you think about the offensive line last year, riddled with injuries. I mean, they were shuffling guys in and out the entire season. And can we really count on Titus Howard to stay healthy? So let's just play this scenario out. What if Blake Fisher comes in and just dominates camp? Now you have the luxury of maybe you play him at right tackle, and then you can take Titus Howard, move him to left guard next to Laramie Tunsil. That was a really potent mix when they had those two together, although very brief last season, especially in the run game. And so I think it was a great pick. I think anytime you can bolster your offensive line, especially the Texans, who have a franchise quarterback that they've got to protect, they have a running game that struggled a lot last season. I don't know. I'd be curious if you don't like the pick, if you're out there and you're listening and you're watching, I'd be curious. What do you think they should have done with that pick? A lot of people said wide receiver, but considering what they did in the offseason with free agency, I was not expecting them to get a wide receiver there. Although some wide receivers did go right after them. The gentleman from Texas, I'm blanking on his name right now. There were some pretty good receivers that went right after. But I like the pick at tackle. Once again, I think D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caserio, they've earned the right for us to wait and see. But I personally, I like the pick. Like I said, I don't watch a lot of college football. I'm not a draft guru. I know he was a highly touted offensive lineman, and I know he might even be able to be versatile enough to move throughout the line. I mean, the Texans love to get guys that they can put pretty much anywhere on the line. But I think if you can keep Titus Howard at guard, maybe there's a better chance he doesn't get hurt. And if this kid, Blake Fisher, plays a good right tackle, I mean, you've already got Juice Scruggs. I don't know if did they bring back Shaq Mason? I can't remember. But then you've got the guard out of Texas A&M. I'm blanking on his name right now too. But you got some competition. And once again, competition is good, especially in NFL. So I think the cream's going to rise to the top. And if this kid is good, then it was a great pick. But we're going to have to wait and see. I see Rom in the chat right now. He says, I believe that we have the best offensive team. A great add-on. Yeah, I mean, on paper, the offense looks like it's going to be legit. And that takes me to my, the third round, they took a safety, which once again, it's Jalen Bullock. We all talked about the struggles that Jalen Petrie had. So do two Jalens make a right? Excuse me. Once again, another position that needs competition. They bring somebody in. Now the pressure's on Jalen Petrie. You got to step your game up. Jalen Petrie had 5 interceptions in his rookie season, but he gave up a lot of big plays in his rookie season, and he gave up a lot of big plays last year. So I think that's a position that needed some competition in it. And I hope that Jalen Petrie will continue to improve. Worst case scenario, you have another young safety who can rotate in and out, maybe even come play some nickel safety, step up in the box and stop the run. I mean, once again, you're just adding more talent to more places where you need competition. I like the pick. My favorite pick of the draft was the number 4 pick, Cade Stover, who's a tight end from Ohio State. Yeah, he used to play with CJ Stroud last year. Here's why I like that pick, because Brevin Jordan, the pressure's on, dude. You got to do something this season. Brevin Jordan looks like he should be Antonio Gates. And he made one of the most amazing plays of the entire season, postseason, against the Browns on that little screen pass. He's got speed. He's got size. He can catch. I don't know why he hasn't been better, man. And I thought last season with CJ Stroud and the way that he was playing, I mean, we all saw the season that Dalton Schultz had. So that's another position that has some guys on it that need to step up, Brevin Jordan being one of them. So what did they do? They put the pressure on by adding some competition. That was my favorite pick of the entire draft. I think that the Texans, D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caserio, they saw the places where they had some weaknesses, which there's not a lot of weaknesses on this team, but there are some, and they used the draft to bolster some competition. They drafted a running back out of Louisville. I thought it was a good draft. I mean, the team was already going to be good. It just felt like they were basically icing on the cake is what this particular draft was. But there's always going to be critics. There's always going to be people who, oh, I wish you would have got this guy or you should have got this guy. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know better than Nick Caserio or D'Amico Ryans. All I'm going to say is we should see. I don't know if these players are going to be good, great, busts. But once again, they've earned our patience to wait and see. Like, I don't care what any so-called draft expert says. No one really knows what these players are going to do until they play. Like, the greatest running back in the history of this franchise was an undrafted player. Somebody they said was a bad locker room guy. Somebody who ran like a 4.69 in Arian Foster. Went undrafted because he didn't even have a draft grade. Like, I was looking up, he got drafted in 2009, so I was just wanted to read about what some of the scouts were saying about him. They didn't have a grade on him. Like, nobody thought that he was going to be anything. And Arian Foster, although it was for a short period of time, but in that short period of time was one of the greatest running backs that have ever carried a football. And so that's why I don't pay too much attention to draft experts, draft gurus. Don't forget, last year, CJ Stroud was supposed to be the lesser of the two quarterbacks at the top of the draft. Bryce Young was can't miss, and CJ Stroud was a big old dummy, right? Who can't process quickly. Well, we all saw what happened. So listen, man, until Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans give us a reason not to trust them, I'm going to trust that they know what they're doing. And that's just straight up. Rom says he has high hopes for the linebacker Jamal Hill out of Oregon. You know what? I think they got him in like the 5th or 6th round too. I like the way D'Amico coaches linebackers, so I agree with you. He's going to get a chance to play a lot of special teams at first. But I talked about it earlier. Fred Warner, nobody knew who that guy was until D'Amico got a hold of him. Look how well 2020 played last season. Christian Harris, like, all the linebackers balled out and it kind of overachieved. Blake Cashman. These are guys that nobody had even heard of. So I trust D'Amico Ryans, and I appreciate the comment, Rom, because I agree with you 100%. I think that could be a sneaky good pick. I know he's a beast on special teams, so he's gonna get down and he's gonna crack some heads if he gets the opportunity. But all in all, man, I thought it was a good draft. And Nick Caserio, we got to give him credit. He's had really good drafts since he's been here. And I brought it up before, since he's left New England, they haven't had really good drafts. I mean, they got their quarterback, Drake May, this season. We'll see how it goes. Speaking of quarterbacks, and I wanted to bring this up, the Texans didn't have a first-round pick, but I think they definitely had an impact on the first round. And if you're asking, well, how was that? I 100% believe the reason 6 quarterbacks got taken in the first 12 picks of the NFL draft is 100% the CJ Stroud effect. Every team right now is looking for their CJ Stroud. A young rookie who comes in and flips the franchise over at the drop of a hat. And I don't think anybody predicted that 6 quarterbacks would go in the first 12 picks. I think 14 straight offensive players went, which was a record. I have to believe, I truly, truly believe that CJ Stroud is the reason that people are, some of these may have been reaches. Atlanta just signed Kirk Cousins to like $140 million contract, or $180 million. I think it's $100 guaranteed, $180 if he plays it out and gets all his incentives. And they drafted Penix Jr. with the 8th pick. Nobody saw that coming. So I believe that 100%. What do they say? NFL's a copycat league, right? That's the moniker that it often gets. I think 100% that CJ Stroud is a big part of the reason that all 6 of those quarterbacks went in the first 12 picks. But, the draft, it's a crapshoot. Here's what I do know. I'm mad at my man P. Scott and his team. I'm not mad at P. Scott. P. Scott didn't make the pick. Why in the hell did the Buffalo Bills trade with the Kansas City Chiefs and let them get their next Tyreek Hill? Would you, listen, I know that Sean McDermott and Andy Reid are boys. They're tight. So I got to believe Andy probably made that phone call, wiggled his mustache a little bit, used that mustache magic. Because why in the hell, I don't care how close you are. If my best friend calls me and is like, hey, man, I know I've won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years, and I know that I won a Super Bowl even though I lost the most dynamic receiver in the league, but why don't you go ahead and let me jump up ahead of you so I can take another possibly super dynamic, ultra quick, ultra fast player to bring into my system that has already made stars out of people that nobody's heard of. Come on, man. What are you doing? Buffalo. They ended up getting their receiver. They passed on 2 receivers in the first round. Maybe they know what they're doing. Like I said, I'm not a draft expert. I'm not an NFL football expert. All I know is when I saw Buffalo's traded the pick and I saw it was with Kansas City and I saw that who was on the board, I'm like, here we go. So, P. Scott, you're gonna have to explain that one the next time I talk to you, Bubby. Let's see. Rom says Cousins deal includes $50 million signing bonus, $90 million guaranteed. Yeah, I know the guaranteed money is all in the first 2 years, I believe. Yeah, it's $100 million guarantees, and then I think if he finishes the contract, it's either 140 or 180. I can't remember. But so that's why everybody was so surprised that they took a quarterback. But once again, in my opinion, that's the CJ Stroud effect. While we're on the subject of the Texans, I want to talk about Tank Dell and what happened to him. If you hadn't heard, Tank Dell was the victim of a mass shooting. 10 people were injured in a shooting instead it was a nightclub shooting. There was a swimming pool there. So I've never been to a nightclub with a swimming pool, but I believe this was in Florida. And so he was shot. He was injured, minor wound. Apparently he left the hospital the same day in good spirits. And it begs the question, thank goodness he's okay. Cause that could have been, thank goodness nobody died. And I got to give big ups to the security guard, who tackled the gunman and jarred the gun loose from him. And I'm going to show you guys a video in a second. But this whole situation begs the question, what responsibility do young athletes have in the offseason to not put themselves in those type of situations? And I actually posted that question on social media this week because I was curious what some of you guys were thinking. My man P. Scott, his answer was yes and no, which is completely on brand with him if you guys know him. I love P. Scott to death. But he is definitely a both sides of the coin guy. Listening to his show, it's kind of like listening to First Take, but with only one person. Because he is definitely going to give you both sides of the debate, go on a couple of tangents in between. But he's going to give you both sides of the coin. So when I asked the question, he said yes and no. And I'm sure he's got a great explanation for both sides. So I would love to hear him I don't see him in the chat tonight, but maybe he'll get an opportunity to shoot me a text message whenever he gets to check out the show. And if you guys get an opportunity to check out his show, it's Chopping It Up with P. Scott. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple. I believe it's on iHeartRadio as well. And every now and again, he does live on Facebook. So you guys go follow his Facebook page as well. Also, my good friend Shanae, she said that she thought that in certain situations the player is responsible, but in this situation she felt like he wasn't responsible. You know, and players should have the right to go out, have a good time. And I don't disagree with that. I don't think they need to stay locked up in the basement during the offseason. I'm not one of those guys who are like, you should be focused on football at all times. You should be studying the playbook. That's not me. Players, they work really hard during the season. They work really hard during the offseason to keep their bodies in shape. It's cool if they unwind a little bit, but you just got to be a little bit more careful about how you move. And I actually watched Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco talk about this on their podcast, Nightcap. And Unc was like, listen, man, I used to be that guy. I wanted to go back to the hood. I wanted to hang out with my boys. I wanted to let them see that I hadn't changed. Money hadn't changed me. I was the same guy. But I started to realize, like, when you have the type of money you're making, the responsibility that you have to your family, the responsibility on yourself, on the sit that, you know, the team has, the obligation you have to the team, to the fans, you got to move different. And I agree with that 100%. Tank Dell should be able to go out, have a good time. But this gunman apparently was 16 years old. Tank Dell's 24. If you're a 24-year-old NFL player, you should not be hanging out at a party where there's 16-year-olds. Now, maybe this guy had a fake ID. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm about to be 40. If I hang out with at a party with 32-year-olds, that's not a big deal. All right. But it's a little bit different when you're 24 and you're hanging out with kids. You just got to move different. And I want to show you guys the video of this shooting really quickly. You can see here there's a scuffle, and I'm going to pause it right here. If you guys look closely, that's Tank Dell. And when this fight starts, he decides to pull out his cell phone and start recording. And that's where he messed up. Now, I'm 40 years old. I'm not a football player. I don't make the type of money Tank Dell makes. If I'm at a party, a club, whatever, and I see a fight breaking out, I'm getting the F out of there because I know what's about to happen. But the generation that we live in now, the YouTube hashtag generation / world star, this young man pulls out his phone and starts recording. He's getting ready to go viral. Well, yeah, buddy, you're about to go viral, all right. I'm not sure where he gets shot, but let me start this video. This is where the gun's fired. And you see right there, you see a bullet hit the water. Right in the path that Tank Dell is running. So I think Tank Dell might have actually ran into the line of fire. At that point, everybody's panicking. Once again, big ups to the security guard. He tackles the young man, is able to get the gun away from him eventually. It's really fortunate that no one was killed in this incident. But I believe 10 people got shot. And it's like Shannon Sharp said, those bullets, they don't have initials or names on them. They're just flying. But if you're Tank Dell, man, you got to know better. All right, I won't blame you for being at a party where a fight breaks out. I won't blame you for that. But I am going to blame you for sitting there, pulling your phone out and recording. instead of doing what you should have done and what I hope you do next time, and that's get the F out of there. I really don't understand this generation's fascination with pulling your phone out and recording. I guess it's what they've grown up on. World Star, backyard fights. But man, that's a dangerous situation. And Tank Dell should be thanking his lucky stars, his Lord and Savior, whatever he believes in, whatever his higher power is. He should be thanking them that he's alive today, because that could have went really, really bad. So if I have a message for the youngsters, next time you see something happening like that, don't try to break it up, but definitely don't sit there with your phone out trying to have your viral moment. Get going, because these days we don't live in a generation where people just fight. One guy loses, they shake hands, and then they move on. 9 times out of 10, if somebody's getting the best of someone else, that person's pulling out a gun and they're spraying. This person had no worries about who he may or may not have shot. So yeah, you got to get the hell out of there. And I hope Tank learned a lesson from this. He's got a second chance. And, he's lucky that his injury was minor. Let's say even if he didn't die, if he had a major injury from this shooting, that could have cost him yet another season. So I'm not saying it's his fault, but you just got to move a little bit smarter, man. You got to move a little bit different. And I think he's probably got enough veterans, enough smart people around him. Ocho Cinco said that he called him himself and just told him, like, hey, bro, you just got to move different. You can't be trying to prove to your boys that you're still the same person, because you're not the same person. Hate to say it, but you're not. All right, guys. We got an Astros game starting in about half an hour. Let's go ahead and do the state of the Houston Astros. All right. The Houston Astros looked really impressive versus the Colorado Rockies over the weekend with 2 blowout wins. Ronel Blanco continues to be dominant. And he got the victory 12-4 on Saturday, followed up by Frommer's return from injury. He looked good. He gave up just 2 runs in 5 innings, and the bullpen held it down for an 8-2 victory. Then they had a significant upgrade in competition this week with the Cleveland Guardians. They tried their best to give away the first game, but they pulled it off, 10-9 in extras. 2 nights ago was a really tough loss. JV came out, gave a gutsy performance, man. Battled through 7 innings, only gave up 2 runs. The Astros scored 2 themselves. Presley came out, locked down an inning, looking like the old Presley. And they took the game to extras again. And then the 2024 Astros thing started happening again. Victor Caratini got his controller button stuck. You ever be playing MLB The Show and somebody hits a fly ball and you just start taking off because you think it's going to drop, and then the video game cheats and catches ground up? The player runs like 50 feet in half a second and dives and catches the ball. That's exactly what happened to Victor Caratini. His controller button got stuck. Diving catch, thrown out at second while he was standing on home plate. Tough play, man. I appreciate the hustle, but number one, you got to look at your third base coach. And you got to know, like, you got to make sure that ball's dropping before you go. And I understand what Victor Caratini was trying to do. And look, he hit the home run that won the game in extras 2 nights before, or the night before that. And actually, I've really appreciated him as a player. Like, he's actually been really good for the Astros in a couple of big spots. But he messed up on that one. And then last night, the Astros, they win the series versus Cleveland, and Cleveland's a good team, man. Arrighetti looked good. The bullpen's holding. So we got some positive momentum. And we need that because the competition's getting stiffer now coming up. Listen, man, like I've said it before, the Astros haven't been good. But this is positive momentum. And if they want to win against the series they have coming up. They're going to have to play better than they have. I want to give the team credit for sending Jose Abreu to the minors. I know everybody's been clamoring for that. That is a move that I don't think the previous regime would have pulled off at all. So I got to give them credit because Jose was struggling, man. He really was. So they're shaking things up. They've shuffled the lineups up. And this is one of the things that Dusty Baker refused to do that a lot of Astros fans wanted him to do. So I will give, Joe Espada, I'll give him credit where credit is due. He's trying to shuffle some things up. But look, time's running out on the Astros. If they want to win 90 games, I don't know, 90 games might win you the division. It might, now that there's extra wild card teams, it might get you into the wild card. But if they want to win 90 games, they got to go 80-42. Or now they got to go 79 and 80-42. I was supposed to do this show yesterday. So they gotta win another 79, 80 games between now and the end of the season. So that means they're gonna have to get hot, man. They got to start stringing some wins together, and they got a tough stretch coming up. Starting tonight, there's a 3-game series with Seattle. That one's big, division rival. Seattle's still leading the division right now. If you can get 2 out of 3 there, dare I say sweep? I don't know. Then you got a 3-game series with the Yankees, with Detroit. These are all good teams. And look, man, the Astros, if they keep playing the way they've been playing, it's going to be pretty grim at the end of these 3 series. But if they play the way they played 2 nights ago and last night, or 3 nights ago and last night, they might have a shot, man. Like they got to take this momentum and keep moving it, get healthy, get the bullpen pitching the way we know the bullpen can pitch, and they have a chance. They definitely have a chance. I took a lot of heat last week for saying that the Astros aren't good, and I stand by that. Like, look at their record. They're not good right now. But I wanted to ask the question and raise the question. Is it okay for you to criticize your team, to say that your team is bad when they're bad? Can you call them ass if they're ass? Or does that mean you're not a real fan? I want to show you guys a post that I made a few days ago. I posted, if you're listening, it says Astros, ASSTROS, and then there's a sad face underneath it. And I can't remember. This was after one of their losses. I can't even remember which one. But there's the gentleman by the name of Kyle Overbeck. I made this on the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast page. Kyle Overbeck. It's kind of ironic that his name's Kyle. But anyway, he says, unfollow. I said, I tell the truth here, my friend. Unlike most presidents, I'm not going to pander for your support. You deserve better than that, and I'm going to tell it like it is. And I mean that, guys. That's the truth. Kyle Overbeck says, I would never call my home team ass. That's disgraceful. Disgraceful. That's a bit much, in my opinion, disgraceful. But look, I'm sorry. And look, my brother used to get mad at me, not recently, but when the Texans were trash, before the Schaub years, my brother used to get really mad at me when I said they were trash. And even the Schaub years where they were trash. Like, he used to get mad at me because my brother is a super fan of the Texans. And I get it, man. I love the Texans too. I love the Astros. I love the Rockets. But when they suck, I'm going to keep it real with you. And listen, man, we're not Cowboys fans. We always love to hate on Cowboys fans whenever they irrationally believe that they're going to the Super Bowl every year. When our teams suck, it shouldn't hurt our feelings if somebody else says that they suck, because we are smart fans. At least we should be smart fans. We want to be smart fans. So we should recognize when our team sucks. When the Texans were winning 2-4 games a year, I called them out. They were trash. And anytime a Cowboys fan talked crap to me, It didn't hurt. I would tell them, bro, the Texans win when they lose. They're not trying to win. They're not trying to be good. Houston Texans fans do not have any delusions of grandeur. Back when they were winning 2-4 games, we didn't have any delusions of grandeur that this team was great. And if you said that they sucked, we'd be like, yeah, okay. Because they did suck. All right? That's why, listen, everybody was mad when Lovie Smith beat the Colts in the last game of the season 2 years ago because we were trying to get the first pick in the draft. That's why everybody was pissed off at him. They were trying to suck. Okay, now, granted, the Houston Astros aren't trying to suck. I understand that. But listen, all I'm saying is, like, it's okay to be realists, all right? If we want to change the perception of the fans in this city as being not smart fans, we got to be realistic. Now, can the Astros turn it around? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I don't trust any other team in this city when their backs are against the wall more than I trust the Astros. If there's any team that can turn it around, it's the Houston Astros. But right now, they suck. I'm sorry. They do. And all the people who are mad at me for saying that, I bet your kids are bad as hell. I bet you don't never punish them. I bet you don't never say nothing. They're probably just all run amok. Ain't never got a spanking. Yes, I used to get spankings. Shout out to the adults who used to get spankings because we're respectable human beings. Listen, I tell my kids all the time when they're effing up. All the time. It doesn't mean I don't love them. I love my kids. That's the reason I tell them when they're effing up, because I want them to grow up to be decent human beings. I want them to grow up to be successful. If I didn't call them out when they were effing up, then you would be able to accuse me of not caring. That's the way I am with my teams too, man. I love my teams, and when they suck, I'm going to say they suck. The Rockets were dog doo-doo before last season, and that's my favorite team in this city. I love that. I love them more than any other team in this city. Like, I haven't made any qualms about that. I love the Rockets, but they were dog crap the last several years. When the Astros were losing 100+ games, I rode with that team, but I still said they sucked. The Astros knew they sucked, man. They were giving away beer and hot dogs so that 36 people would show up to the game. And you know who wasn't at the game? Because I was there. Kyle Overbeck wasn't there. Where were you, Kyle? You weren't at the game, were you? Because they stunk. Let me take a deep breath. Listen, I'm not being negative either, man. I'm just being honest. I'm still watching the Astros. I still support them. I'm going to watch the game tonight. But I'm not going to let this town get pooped on and lie to y'all and tell you it's chocolate chips. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it. If that means you don't listen to my show, then I'm sorry. That's your right. I don't have any hard feelings, but please listen to the show. Why would you not? Why would you not want to listen to it? Like, listen to the show. You deserve the truth, man. And that's why I appointed myself president of Houston Sports Nation, because I'm going to tell you the truth. You deserve the truth. And you know what else you deserve? You deserve the great feeling when a bad team turns it around. Think about how you felt last season when the Texans made the playoffs, won the division after sucking. That's what makes winning great. You got to go through the days of sucking to appreciate the days of victory. Okay? So call it like it is, man. The Astros are not good right now. And if they make a miraculous comeback, win the division again, and go on to go to the ALCS and win the World Series, think about how wonderful that's going to feel. And you guys can even come back. If that happens, you guys can even come back and be like, hey, Nick, I thought the Astros sucked. How about it now, huh? And I will gladly shake your hand and say, congratulations, sir. I guess you knew something I didn't know. But look, man, the Astros are going to have to play better if they want to make the playoffs. They're just going to have to. Nay is in the comments saying, you pissing people off. I'm sorry, man. I'm not trying to. But It happens. It happens. Let's see. What do we want to do now? But I would say the state of the Houston Astros, it's looking up, right? It's not good, but it's looking up. But they're going to have to play better, straight up. And you guys know that. I'm not saying anything you don't know. Really quick, let's do the state of the Houston Rockets. All right, there's not a lot to cover with the Rockets, but the draft lottery is coming up on May 12th, which is also my birthday. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, the Houston Rockets own the Brooklyn Nets pick, which has the 9th best odds in the lottery. So more than likely, they're probably going to end up with the 9th pick. If a miracle happens, they could get their own pick back. Right now, OKC owns it, but it is top. Let's see. I think it's like top 4, top 5 protected. So if somehow they fall all the way up, or no, I think it's top 4 protected. So if a miracle happens and they get 4 or better, then they'll have 2 picks in the top 10. But the question is, what should the Rockets do with those picks? They won 41 games this season. Should they draft another young player, develop that player, or is it time to trade some of those picks away for a veteran or even another star, possibly? Supposedly, this draft is not a good one. Once again, I'm not a draft guru for the NBA or the NFL. And I'm positive there's probably going to be a perennial all-star that comes out of this draft, even though everyone's saying that there's no sure thing in this draft. But every draft, somebody great comes out of it. But they're saying it's one of the weakest drafts. But there's a lot of 4-year college players, and we all know 4-year college players usually make really good role players coming off the bench for teams that are trying to win. So I think we're going to find out a lot about where the Houston Rockets believe they are by what they do with these draft picks. Do they trust the young core that they have to develop and decide, all right, let's trade these picks away. We've got what we need in our young core. Let's get some more veterans in here. Let's maybe even try to put together a package for a superstar. The problem is you're going to put together a package for a superstar. That means you're going to have to get rid of somebody like Alperen Şengün or possibly Jalen Green. Or do you already have the stars you need on your team? The Rockets have drawn lots of comparisons to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City Thunder were 40-42 last season, barely missed the playoffs, similar to the Rockets. And this season, they're the number 1 seed in the West. Now, getting Chet Holmgren was a big shot in the arm for them. He hurt himself, so he didn't get to play in what should have been his rookie season. So technically, this was his rookie season. But they have players like SGA. They have a great team, and they started off with a young core, similar to the Houston Rockets. And if the playoffs have shown us anything so far, I said last week, man, the Rockets are missing out. I miss Rockets playoff basketball, and I hope they end up in the playoffs soon. But if it's shown us anything, man, there's definitely a changing of the guard right now. LeBron James is gone. Kevin Durant is gone. Steph Curry is gone. This new age of stars, the Luka Doncic's, I got a feeling that James Harden and Paul George are probably about to be gone pretty soon too, because they can't get it together against Dallas. I believe they should have easily beaten Dallas. And I know Kawhi Leonard's hurt, but they lost all the games that Kawhi Leonard played. So, I mean, and it's James Harden. We all know what he does in the playoffs. We all know what Paul George does in the playoffs. So there's definitely a changing of the guard. You got SGA. You've got Anthony Edwards. These are the new faces of the league. And if the Rockets are going to be on their level, that's what Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, Cam Whitmore, Amen Thompson, that's what they've got to turn into. They've got to turn into that level of player. If they're going to be an elite team, one of those players or multiple of those players is going to have to put themselves in that conversation with SGA, with Anthony Edwards. And for me, I'm looking at Jalen Green. He's got to be the guy. I think this offseason is going to tell us a lot, though, about what the Rockets think that their young core is capable of. All I know is that, like I said, I missed the Rockets in the playoffs. These games have been really exciting. Anthony Edwards is that dude. I believe Jalen Green can be that type of player, though. I really do. I think Jalen Green could potentially, at some point, be the best player in the league if he really wanted to. I think he's got that kind of talent. I think he's better than SGA now. Now, he didn't play like it all season, but I think at his best, he's better than SGA. But he's got to prove it, man. So I hope that he will. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on last season. Let's see. Hey, my man Cecil Thompson's in the building. Says, yo, been missing the action. What's going on? Hey, buddy. I was supposed to do this show last night, and I ended up having to do it today, so I'm glad you made it. Man, we're just talking Houston sports, Bubba. It's what I love to do. Talking a little bit of Houston Rockets. Speaking of the Rockets, really quick, I don't know if you guys read this, but Tillman Fertitta did an interview with the Chronicle where he said that he would like to do a WNBA expansion and bring back the Houston Comets. Thank you, studio audience. Appreciate that. That would be dope, man. I said in the last episode where we gave the Comets their flowers, I'm rooting for the WNBA to succeed because if that league succeeds, it's going to expand and Houston's got to get a team back. Like, we're the 4th largest city in the world. I believe we're the 9th media market. We should have a WNBA team. And if this league's going to take off like a lot of people hope that it is, then I want the Comets back. I wish they'd have never left. Like I said, imagine the NBA losing the Celtics or the Rockets, or the Celtics or the Lakers. Imagine them losing the Rockets too. That would suck. But yeah, I really hope that happens. If the Comets come back, that would be great. I saw another article that I'd like to share with you guys. According to the Houston Chronicle, 6 months after receiving a cease and desist letter from the NFL, U of H plans to defy the league and add an alternate blue uniform. That's what I'm talking about. Give them some love. Oh my goodness. I still have, I'll go ahead and share that. Look, that's what I was trying to share. Sorry. Listening audience, like, what's going on? I can't see. Good for you, Houston. Good for you. And I was reading the article, and apparently they believe because clearly the Adams family, the NFL, they're going to try to come at them with this. But I believe that U of H thinks they have a case that they should be able to use this color because this color was a part of Houston long before the Houston Oilers. And the NFL doesn't own that color. We talked about it last week. Our police cars used to be that color. The Houston flag is the Columbia blue color. So honestly, man, the Adams family can bite it if they want to. But yeah, Nay's in the comments. She says, I'm glad they didn't ban Go U of H. That's what I'm talking about. I'm glad they didn't too. Shanae, I appreciate you joining the show again. I had mentioned, I don't know if you saw earlier, I mentioned that you were talking about Tank Dell and the situation that went on with him. And I understood 100% where you came from, but the problem I had is that he was there with underage people and recording a fight with his cell phone. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. If you guys show up late, don't forget the show's going to be on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, and you'll be able to listen to the audio within the hour after the show is over. So anything you missed, just go back and listen. And I appreciate everybody's support this evening, man. I can't tell you, once again, this podcast, I'm in this room talking to myself. If it's going to grow to the heights that I want it to grow to, I need you guys. And I need you guys not just to listen, but if you could, please just share it with your friends who you know enjoy Houston sports. But yeah, I'm really glad they didn't bend on these uniforms either. I said it last week. It was painful to say, but those Houston Oilers uniforms are still the best uniforms that this city has ever had. And when I saw U of H rock their version last season, I thought I thought that was really dope. Let's see. What's some other news? I saw some other news that I wanted to share with you guys. Let me find it. Yeah, Shanae, she's asking if he recorded. Yeah, I showed a video earlier. I'll share it one more time. That's not it. Yeah, that's him at the bottom there. They circle him. And you see right now the fight's happening. And I'll pause the video. He hops out of the crowd. That's him in the white t-shirt right there. And yeah, that's him recording with his cell phone. So that's the reason, like I said, maybe this young man had a fake ID. I've never seen a nightclub with a pool. So I feel like this is like maybe a converted home or maybe a activity center. I don't know. But yeah, I'm showing it one more time. When the shooting starts, he actually runs into the line of fire, which was not smart. And it's just, once you see the fight happen, you got to get out of there. Yeah. So yeah, but thank goodness he's okay once again. And Shanae, once again, I appreciate you joining the show. And man, like I can't thank you guys enough for that. Let's see. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's everything that I had to share with you guys. So yeah, the state of the Houston Rockets is still good. But they're gonna have to prove it, just like the Astros and just like the Texans, man. We're all really excited, but they haven't played a single down yet. So all in all, once again, when we put everything together, I would say the state of the union of Houston remains strong. Let's get this dub tonight. If we're the Astros versus the Seattle Mariners, maybe win 2 out of 3. That would be great, and that'll get us some momentum. We got to beat the Yankees. That's the series after Seattle. If let's say got 6 games. You got 6 games. Let's go 4-2. If the Astros go 4-2, I'll believe they're making a turnaround. If they can't do that, then they need to go on a streak, man. They really need to go on a streak. Well, that's going to do it for me this evening, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, or listening. If you're listening, thank you so much. Really quick, I want to remind you one more time of the ways you can support the show. Like I said, one of them you're doing right now. You're watching, you're listening. Hopefully you're sharing. Please like, subscribe, follow wherever you listen to your podcast. On social media, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter /X, whichever one you want to call it. I'm also on TikTok. Now, my TikTok page is my personal TikTok page. I don't have a show page on TikTok yet. But once again, if you go to the link tree in the description of the video you're watching or the audio you're listening to, you'll find the links to all of my social media and all the places you can watch or listen to the show. Follow me on TikTok because I love posting shorts there. And that's probably the most interaction I get is in TikTok, because TikTok allows me to have more reach than a lot of the other platforms, because they probably know they're about to get banned. But that's a subject for another day. Really quick, let me check the chat before I get out of here. Shanae says, my boyfriend is enjoying the show. Thank you so much. He's my side commentator, but he's driving, so he can't comment. That's what's up. I'm not sure of your boyfriend's name, but first of all, congratulations. Shanae is a wonderful lady. You are a lucky man. And thank you so much for listening. And I hope you guys will introduce me to him at some point. And I have a lot of plans, Shanae, on what I want to do with this show. I would love to do a community event, a live location, maybe a fundraiser or a charity event. So I'll get to meet and put a lot of faces to some of the names of a lot of you listeners and viewers that I haven't been able to meet in person. So all in all, I want to say thank you so much. Once again, my tip jar is right here. If you want to leave a tip, there's affiliate links in the description. Fan Gear of the Week, podcast equipment. If you guys buy any of that, these are Amazon links. I'll get a little bit of cha-cha-cha-ching. And that's how you can support me in the show. And then once again, sponsorship. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, please reach out to me at HS State of the Union podcast or pod. It's HS State of the Union pod at gmail.com. If that's too confusing, just hit me up on my DMs, or some of you guys know my phone number. Really quick. Anybody want to win a free t-shirt? Shanae, Are you somewhere where you can make a phone call? I got some Houston sports trivia. I want to give away some t-shirts, man, because I put QR codes on the back of the t-shirts. So hopefully when you guys are walking around town, you can listen, or you can, hopefully when you guys are walking around town and you're wearing my t-shirt, people will scan that QR code and then they'll start listening or watching the show themselves. So really quick, if you guys want to call in and answer some Houston sports trivia, I'll give you guys a t-shirt. The phone number is 832-835-3141. I have the phone forwarded to myself, and it is linked to my Roadcaster. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to chime in. And while we're waiting, I want to know, once again, if you guys are in the chat, what you guys think about the Texans draft, what you guys think about the Astros winning the series against the Cleveland Guardians, and what do you think the Rockets should do in the offseason to make sure they make the playoffs next season? Once again, that phone number is 832-835-3141. I'm going to give it a few minutes and see if anybody calls. And let's give away some free swag. This is really the test of who's watching. She says, I believe, let me answer the phone call here. Just a moment. Hello, this is Nick Stevenson, Houston Sports State of the Union. Who am I speaking to? Just a moment. Why does this always happen? Are you there? Shanae, are you there? Interesting. Why is this not working? Give me just a second. I'm going to try to get you linked up to the Bluetooth here. All right. Can you hear me? Are you there?
I'm here.
All righty. I'm assuming this is Shanae.
It is, and my
All
boyfriend
right.
is right next to me.
Okay. What's your boyfriend's name?
Rayshon.
Layshawn?
I'm here.
All right. It is a pleasure to meet you, man. And like I said, congratulations. Shanae's a wonderful lady. How's your baby boy doing? I know he's not a baby boy anymore.
No, he's not a baby anymore, but he's doing good. You know, they're getting ready for football season, so.
Is he playing
I'm
varsity
trying to
this
take
year?
you on this rough street here. Yes.
He is playing varsity. Okay. Well, I'll see you guys at the games because Maddie's boyfriend's playing varsity as well. So he's on the offensive line.
Oh,
so,
Landon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll be there.
We will be there. Okay. You said you want some easy questions. So I
Got me
can.
something easy.
Okay. I've got a card here. This is the easiest questions of the one. There's several different cards that have different levels of question. If I'm not mistaken, you said your favorite team in Houston is the Rockets, right?
Texans.
Oh, it's the Texans. All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you a question about J.J. Watt. You think you can get it right?
Okay, I might.
Okay. Here we go. I'm going to ask you, let's see. I'm going to find a way to give you this t-shirt either way. So let's just have some fun with it. J.J. Watt's 20 and a half sacks in 2012 and 2014 left him just two shy of the NFL season record, which was set by what member of the Giants in 2001?
2001? Was it? Oh, hold on. I don't know when he played. I'm thinking Michael Strahan? No.
Hey.
Is it a P?
It's Michael Strahan.
Yeah, buddy.
Man, I guess that was too easy. Was that too easy? All right, let me.
That was
let's see. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna ask you. Ooh, let's see how big of a. Let's see. I have a Rockets question. How big of a Rockets fan are you?
I haven't followed him too much lately, but let's give it a try.
Okay, let me see. Let me find another Texans question. Let's see. Oh, man, this is too easy. Man, okay. I'll go ahead and ask it. What interception returned for a touchdown with 52 seconds remaining in the first half of the Texans? The first half gave the Texans the lead for good in January 2012 playoff victory over the Bengals.
Oh.
An interception returned for a touchdown with 52 seconds remaining in the first half gave the Texans the lead for good in a January 2012 playoff victory over the Bengals. This is a layup, Shanae. Do you need a hint?
I know. and if I can find it on my Facebook, I probably posted about it back then too.
I'm gonna give you a hint.
I can't remember.
I'm gonna give you a hint. We've
give me-
talked about this gentleman in the show very, very recently. Very, very, very recently.
What's the guy? What's his name start with an
No.
A? No. Okay. I can't remember.
This was his rookie
I don't know.
season.
I can't remember.
It was JJ Watt. JJ Watt.
What?
Yes, JJ Watt intercepted at the goal line, or not at the goal line. He was, I can't remember how. It was a short return, but yeah, he intercepted the kid from Katy, the redhead kid from Katy, and ran it in for a touchdown. Why am I forgetting his name now? Okay. You know what? I'm gonna ask you one more. I'm gonna ask you one more because I think 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Let's see.
Oh.
Let's see. Oh, here's an easy one. Man, this is like late. Okay, this is super easy. What head coach led the Houston Rockets to back-to-back NBA titles in 94 and 95?
Rudy.
Oh yeah, that's the guy, Rudy T.
I will accept Rudy T as Rudy Tomjanovich. Okay, Shanae, thank you so much for participating. You see how easy that was? Tell your friends, hey, you want to win? Everybody loves free stuff. They might not even listen to this show, but they're going to want a free t-shirt. And the cool thing about these t-shirts, I put my QR code on the back. So hopefully when you're walking around, hopefully people will be scanning and be like, hey, I wonder what this is about. And then we'll get some more listeners out there. So I appreciate you so much. That's why I had every incentive to help you win this t-shirt. But you did a great job. I mean, 2 out of 3. I will say you're officially a true Houston sports fan. And I'm going to give you guys opportunities to do that many a time throughout the course of this podcast. But thank you so much. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let you go while I go ahead and end the show. And then I will either call you or text you back and find out where I can send this shirt for you and what size you get. I'm going to get one for you and your boyfriend, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Actually, you know what? And send me Jalen's sign. I'm gonna give all 3 of you one. I'm feeling excited today. All right, but I'll contact you guys a little bit later. Thank you so much for listening and thank you for your support. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
All righty.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, that is Shanae Montgomery and her boyfriend. I believe she said his name was LaShawn. I should have asked again. I have a terrible memory. But thank you guys so much for listening. And everybody who's listening, watching tonight, thank you guys so much. Like I said, there's 1,000 different things you could be doing. Astros are getting ready to do the first pitch in just a few minutes. So I am going to get out of here. Next week, the show is going to be on Thursday again. I want you guys, as always, stay 10 toes down for H-Town. Have a happy Cinco de Mayo. Celebrate responsibly. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.
This has been the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, hosted by Nick Stevenson. Tune in next week for more news and analysis of your favorite Houston teams. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, the app formerly known as Twitter, if that's even really still a thing. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.